Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Speedrunner podcast episode number 5. And with me today, I have none other than Osskari. Say hello, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing alright.
Nice. Glad to hear it. Alright, so how about we just start it off a little bit softly here? And first of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an Icelandic speedrunner, mostly known for playing Uncharted games. I ran Uncharted 1 at SGDQ 19, so it's not much more to say.
Alright, well, easy start there. But how did you get into speedrunning from the very beginning?
I was actually through Uncharted 1 as well, so I was browsing through. Had been watching speedruns for a while. Don't remember exactly when I started watching speedruns in general, but sometime at the end of 2016, I happened across Open Donkey's Uncharted 1 run from HGQ 2015, and I had a PS4 and Uncharted, so I thought like, okay, I might as well try this, and I just stuck with it.
All right, nice. So it was essentially Uncharted that got you into speedrunning from the very beginning then.
Yeah, the exact same run I did at last SGQ was the same speedrun that got me into speedrunning.
Oh, nice. But like as most of us know, most speedrunners, they tend to, showcase their skills or their runs in general on Twitch. So how did you get into streaming?
Well, I'm not much of a streamer. I haven't streamed in months and months, but originally it was just because I didn't have a capture card, so I could stream from my PS4. And then like usually I do speedruns offline because it's more of a comfy environment. But I have streamed some randomizers with my friends and stuff, but I don't stream a lot.
All right. Is there any reason why you don't stream as much as you used to?
I guess it's just like I have a comfy setup when it comes to doing offline runs. I like putting stuff on in the background to kind of spread my so I'm not too focused on being stressed, I guess. But I'm not close to streaming more in the future.
All right. So diving off the path a little bit of speedrunning there. Everyone has a username. Everyone has some kind of story. Some are more boring than others, and some are weird, random, or just hilarious, or some are just their names. So how did you get your username, Osskari?
Right. So my name is Oscar with a K. So you might be starting getting some ideas as to how it makes sense. But like a common Icelandic nickname for someone called Oscar is Skari, Skari, and then my best friend of many years, he refers to me as Ossi, Ossi, and he one day told me like, "Oh, I have a good new nickname for you," and then he said it's Osskari. I said, "Yeah, it's stupid," but then like I had to make some account for something later on, and that popped into my head. And it's free basically anywhere. So it's like that username that's free anywhere and it's kind of stuck with me. So
well, it used to be free anywhere at least until you took it.
Right. I think Twitter is the only place that I haven't been able to get it. That's why I have the SR on Twitter.
Oh, is so? There's actually someone who's got Osskari on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I mean, it's not the most like common username, so you'd think it would be available.
Yeah. There's like. It has something to do with Finland. There's someone on YouTube called Osskari, and I've watched a couple of their videos just to like, it's not like someone who does a content creator. It's just like a random person, but I think I heard some Finnish in there.
So you sit there watching their videos, like shaking your fist, like you bastard.
Well, on YouTube it doesn't really matter, but on Twitter, like the names have to be unique.
So going back to speedrunning a little bit, there, you mentioned the AGDQ 2015 there. How you got into speedrunning? Was that the first time you saw a speedrun? And do you remember who it was? The first one you ever saw?
I don't remember that. I don't think that was the first one, but it's like the first one I remember. That was Oven Donkey, who actually, after doing that run, he got a job at Naughty Dog for like did QA testing.
Oh wow!
He works at Santa Monica now. He did testing on God of War, the new one.
Wow! Just so they saw him at AGDQ and just decided like, oh, we need this guy on our team.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't know the whole story actually, but I think that's like the catalyst to it.
All right, so he was the first speedrun you saw, or
first notable at least. I don't remember anything else.
All right. I mean, it's fairly common. Like, it's like asking, like, oh, do you remember the first time you took your first steps? Like,
yeah.
You don't put these things to memory usually, unless it had like some sort of big impact, life-changing event, that kind of thing. It's completely understandable if no one understands or no one remembers who the first run was. I don't remember who the first speedrunner I saw live. I mean, I could take a guess who, but I have no idea if it's true.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason people say, like, so many people say Cyclamic SM64 43 grind was their first speedrun.
Yeah. Was it because it was like the OGs?
Yeah, it's either like Cyclamic or Narcissa Wright.
All right. So, like you mentioned, you weren't streaming as much because you preferred doing practice and such offline while doing something else, watching something. I can relate to that. I like doing that as well. But what I want to kind of combine the two questions here. Like, what's your goal with speedrunning, and then kind of separate it when you stream. What is your goal with streaming?
It's just have fun. I think it's like really important to I don't know. At least for me, it doesn't really work if I'm not having fun. I lose motivation instantly if I feel it's a chore or anything like that. So it's just about like keeping it cool.
And is that about like, is that both for speedrunning and streaming, or is it like are there separate goals for the two of them?
That's kind of like my goal in general in life, I guess. Just like be easygoing, but for like speedrunning, it's really important. I've learned this throughout the years, and it feels like a long time since I started speedrunning, but in the grand scheme of things, it's only like January 2017, which is not that long ago. But like it's about like mindset is really important, because when I started learning Uncharted 1, I had like no preconception of anything, and I just like kept on playing the game and improving, and but then like I've gone and I've stuck with Uncharted for 3 years, so something went right there. But then there's other games where I've started learning them maybe, and then lost interest, and maybe I haven't realized it at the time, but I'm realizing it more and more that if you come into maybe you're like you've learned a bunch of speedruns and you think you're a pretty competent speedrunner, and you have this preconception of like how fast you become good at something, and for me at least that leads to like getting burnt out instantly. But if I come in with the like mindset of just having no expectations, then I feel like I last much longer.
Yeah, and that's a good mindset to have as well. Just clear your mind essentially, and just no expectation. Just do it.
Just play
like Shia LaBeouf would say.
Play the game because it's fun.
Yeah. All right. So when you practice offline and practice your runs, like how much do you practice? Like how many hours roughly do you put into practice time?
Like I think doing runs is really good practice, but then like if there's a specific thing that I'm really like not confident with, like it's all about risk reward doing speedruns. So if there's like a trick that I feel like I'm really inconsistent at, I'll like practice it, and then if I'm confident, I'll do runs. But if yeah, I guess like my favorite kind of practice is just doing runs.
All right. Well, that is an effective way because then you can help each other out as well. Like if you're streaming it, for example, you can ask your audience for help or get like feedback from other runners as well live while you're doing it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a big like pro to streaming actually, which is a good point. It's like if all the top runners of a game speedrun or stream it, and the other top runners watch the streams, then information like gets around much faster.
Oh yeah, especially when there's like I don't know how it's about with the Uncharted series, but like in some games there's like new glitches or something that someone discovered, and that's like a prime opportunity to help each other out. To like, okay, how do we execute this in the best way by watching someone else, asking questions, putting out suggestions like live when you're testing it out yourself as well, so you get a bunch of different ideas on how to implement a new something into a run or a route, for example.
Yeah, like I feel like communication is like so good for like teaching people new strats. It's like input on-screen input for skips is like it does the job for a lot of the time, but in my experience, some of the harder tricks you kind of need just like somebody to describe how they do it, so you can formulate like a thing in your head. Which like input videos, like there's a trick in Uncharted 1 called a sky launch, which is like only the top 2 or 3 runners do it, and it's pretty difficult. I've started recently. I haven't put it in a run yet, but I've started like practicing it and doing attempts, and it's one of those tricks where you like I've looked at videos for years with inputs and like not been able to figure it out, but that recently me and another Uncharted speedrunner called Rocky have been like kind of just talking to each other, learning like the trick at the same time, and it's like paid dividends. While like the input video is like, okay, I guess he's pressing circle there, but like it doesn't really tell me anything.
Yeah, so like that being said, that you've been working with Rocky to help figure out the skips, that what would you say about like the Uncharted speedrunning community in general? Like, is it I know like speedrunning communities as a whole are usually quite friendly and help each other out, but what about the like Uncharted one specifically? Are they like welcoming everyone open arm, helping people out if they have questions, that kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure. We're pretty like, not to like toot our own horns, but we're like really accepting, and we've gotten like feedback from people coming into the community being like really happy with the reception, and as long as you're not an asshole, we'll accept you, and we like trying to help people.
Yeah, well, that's nice. I mean, I just felt like asking the questions just in case, because I don't know much about Uncharted or Uncharted speedrunning as a whole, so you never know there's been any like drama or anything like that. I mean, from what I know, I want to say like 99.9% of all speedrunning communities are very friendly and welcome everyone with open arm because they want new people in for more competition, fresh blood, that kind of thing. But moving on a little bit, I want to ask you about not just Uncharted as or a game in general, but like speedrunning as a whole. What would you say is the most difficult thing about speedrunning?
Like for me, it's just the mindset, just like grinding. Because if you don't have the right mindset, then grinding becomes like really awful. But as long as you keep it fun, then it's like, and it sounds like, well, thanks, I'm cured, but like, just it's kind of crazy how much just changing your mindset makes things easier.
Yeah, so in what ways do you, if you're having a bad run, for example, do you just like end the stream or end the run, or do you have any like tips or tricks to make it fun for not only yourself but maybe for your viewers?
Yeah, so like losing runs, if you look at it like you lost a run, then it becomes really difficult to accept. But if you take it as a learning experience, so like if it's RNG, then like whatever, it's RNG. What was I supposed to do? But if it's something you could have done better, then just learn from it and just put it into practice. Like when you get to that point next, try to think of that moment and not do it so badly again, I guess.
But on the flip side, then, like, what's the most fun thing about speedrunning?
Most fun?
Yeah.
Community, I guess. It's like when I started playing Uncharted 1, I was just kind of doing it with a very Nordic sensibility. I just just play the game, posted my runs, wasn't really bothering anybody, and then I got a comment on one of my videos from my friend Robe XD, who is a Uncharted speedrunner as well. He just commented something like short and nice, like nice seeing the progression there, and I kind of just like that was like the first interaction I had with anyone in the community, and now 3 years later I can, like, he and all the other guys in the community are good friends of mine. But I don't think you like speedrunning without a community is not as fun, I think.
Yeah, being alone is very very difficult, like if you're trying to grow or get better and improve times and have no one to like throw your ideas to bounce off of. I know that a few years ago, myself and a guy called Leonis, we really got into Jade Cocoon, an old PS1 game. Started speedrunning that, made it more competitive, and really tried making these thorough guides for people to join us. But it ended up like the community was very, very small. We weren't many, and we were really looking for more people to get in. And after a while, just grinding world record and like competing against each other, we both kind of quit because there really wasn't a sense of community. Like everything had been figured out. There was nothing really to improve on except like getting good RNG, and there was nobody new to like teach the run to in the sense. So like I kind of agree with it. Like having a good community that's alive essentially can make speedrunning a lot more fun.
Yeah, and I also feel like a lot of my motivation comes from beating other people, not in a like aggressive way, but like as soon as I see myself on top, like where if I reach some goal I set, or like if my goal was reach sub 42 in a speed run, and I reach that, and I don't see myself having a huge amount of time left to gain, or I'm like at the top of the leaderboard, I will kind of just lose motivation fast. But as soon as somebody is like setting a new standard and like showing you with a run, like this is possible, you can do this, like that's what really motivates me.
Yeah, I mean competition is healthy, as they say. But I wanna talk a little bit about the different runs you've done. You've played a bunch of different games, a bunch of different Uncharted games as well, and from what I can see, most of them are on PS4. But when you practice or don't stream, do you? And this is mostly for the games that aren't PS4. But like, do you play them on console or emulator or like a PC port or something?
So yeah, most of my runs are PS4, and like mostly just because it's convenient. Like, consoles are really convenient, but then recently I've been playing Yakuza Kiwami 2, and I bought that on PS4 just to play it casually. But then I tried to speedrun it on there, and the loads are just so horrible. The loads in a 2-hour speedrun, the loads on PS4 lose like 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like...
So the run is actually like an hour and a half without the loads, or?
Like my PB currently my PB is 2 hours 10 minutes, and the world record is like a 1:59. But on PS4 the world record would be like 2 hours 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not bothered with the length of the run per se if it were 2 hours 30 minutes. But it's just like the loads, sitting through loads becomes really tiring, and it's easy to lose your focus. So I switched to PC on that, and that's the only PC run I've done. But then I've done like a few emulator runs. I did race driving for the SNES, which is a hot meme.
Yeah.
And then I did Mimpy Dreams on PC as well, which is like a random game only me and my friends run.
Or was it like a meme game as well, or just something random?
It's like random. So Twan Man, who was a guest on your show last week, he had a period of time where he was only allowed to buy games with dogs in it.
With dogs.
And yeah, Mimpy Dreams was one of those. So we just put a leaderboard up and ran it for a bit. And yeah, it's a PC game, but it might actually be more optimal on mobile, which is kind of funny.
On mobile, really?
Yeah, because then you have touch controls.
All right, I've never heard of this game, so I really have no idea. But it just sounds like a mobile game being more optimal than a console or PC game. That sounds weird.
Yeah, the current world record is on iOS actually, but I mean, I don't know how much the times are not that optimized on the game.
I mean, is it a popular game?
Yeah, no, it's not very popular. It's basically a random person and then three of my friends.
I bet that random person been like, yes, finally, competition, someone to challenge.
I have the obligatory meme game because I'm Icelandic, so I run Lazy Town Superhero Challenge, which is a browser game.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at that I said the 10th place on there. But it's a browser game. Do you consider that like a meme game as well, as you mentioned earlier?
For sure. It's just like RNG. It's like a board game, and you spin like a thing, and you get a number, and depending on what you land on, you lose time or you don't lose time.
What? RNG simulator. Let's go. But going back to like the topic of emulator and console, do you think like there are certain advantages or disadvantages to both?
Yeah, for sure. Like emulator, the obvious advantage to emulator is like accessibility. Like anyone can get themselves an emulator and get a ROM, however legally that might be acquired.
Yeah.
Which like is good for getting people into games, especially if they're like expensive or obscure or whatever. So I think it's really that's like the obvious positive. Maybe a con would be like not every emulator runs perfectly. Most of them don't actually. So I really understand why some communities ban them, but still think they're valuable.
Yeah, and in terms of practice for some games, emulators are really useful, as you can like save certain states in sections where you usually can't save, just to practice a certain thing or a certain glitch or whatever. But like, are you into sports or anything like that at all?
Yeah, I played badminton for 10 years as a kid, and then I followed baseball, which is extremely uncharacteristic of a Icelandic person.
Yeah, it's not that big over on Iceland, is it?
No, like non-existent basically. And then I also follow Formula One.
All right, but I have several questions about baseball. Like, how did you get into baseball? Because as you said, it's not very popular on Iceland.
Yeah, so like I have a I have an interest in things that are weird, and like baseball to me is like, or was weird at least. It's interesting. I like sports that don't have clocks as well.
Yeah.
And then like I was watching a Canadian streamer, and there's one Canadian team in Major League Baseball, which is the Toronto Blue Jays, and they were like going on about how good they were at the moment, and they had been good for a while, and that how I was like, whoa, there's a Canadian baseball team in the American League, okay. So I just kind of like started watching because I had like casual interest, um, and yeah, like I happened to join when at such a good moment where like the team was really good and some huge moments occurred, and I like really like the sport, so I've just stuck with it, even though it's kind of hard to follow it sometimes because it's in America, and like the East Coast is 4 hours away, um, in the summer. So thankfully the Blue Jays are on the East Coast or like in the Eastern time zone. So usually the games start at like 11 p.m. my time, which is like doable. But if they're on like the
Still very late though.
yeah, and like the baseball games are pretty long, so
Yeah. How long? What is the average length of a baseball game?
like almost 3 hours
Damn.
or about 3 hours, I guess.
Damn, that's a long time. Well, it's the same with the NFL, really. Like, American football is like somewhere, or it feels like most games are somewhere between like an hour and a half and 3 hours, depending on how many stops the plays get, pretty much.
Yeah, the thing with baseball is that draws don't exist, so like the teams will play forever until somebody wins.
Oh, that's a recipe for potential disaster.
Yeah, so like maybe like once or twice a year you'll see a game that goes like 6 hours.
6 hours, Jesus
Maybe
Christ.
maybe 6 hours is like the really longest they become, but yeah, the thing is that like you can use all your players. The roster is 25 people, 26 now actually, and you can use them all, but you can only use them once. So like when you've gotten into the fourth or fifth hour, you're starting to use people in out of position. You're starting to use like people who don't pitch as pitchers, and it becomes real interesting.
Wow. That actually sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. It's called extra innings, and people like it's called free baseball. Like when it goes longer.
Right, so we digress a little bit there, but the reason I bring sports up is because there's sports and there's esports, and then there's little baby speedrunner or speedrunning, and like, would you be able to consider speedrunning a form of esport?
Yeah, for sure. It's like a sport is just like being good at kicking a ball or whatever, you know. So esport is just being good at a video game. I guess I like organized in some way. So I think speedrunning is like racing, I guess.
Yeah.
You'd consider racing a sport. I'd consider speedrunning a sport in the same way as racing is a sport.
And that's the thing, like, because there are races and they're usually held at events like AGDQ, ESA, RPG Limit Break, that kind of thing. But no one, and if you compare it to the esports scene, there's usually like you get tournaments of like League of Legends, Dota 2, StarCraft, whatever, and they're usually called like, they have tournaments or leagues. But in running, you don't really have that. Like, would you consider like the possibility that in the future certain games would be viable to be put into like a league or a tournament kind of format?
Yeah, the hard thing about speedrunning is that like you mentioned League of Legends and stuff, like esports has the big games that have been like popular for years and years. It's kind of difficult with speedrunning because it's a lot of smaller communities, and I think it's less about making speedrunning like esports and just presenting speedrunning in the best way possible.
Yeah, it's like its own separate entity then, essentially.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess like speedrun marathons are a great way to present speedrunning, but we also seen like the ESA Break the Record SM64 event that was recent. That's like another great way to do that, but it might not work for everything. Works pretty well for SM64 because it's so popular. And
I was gonna mention that. I mean, certain games don't really work for it, like race driving, for example. I doubt we'll see like a big competitive scene for that. No offense to the runners or anything like
no
that, but like
offense taken.
if you compare it to like yes, SM Super Mario 64, there are I think it's over 1,800 runners of that game on speedrun.com at least, and then there's probably even more who hasn't even submitted a time. So just there is potential for something. For example, like those type of sizes of games, or like the Zelda series are insanely popular as well, certain of the games. But like comparing them to smaller scenes or smaller communities, I don't think that would work. But if you were to apply it, then possibly to like Super Mario 64 is a great example.
Yeah, and like I think randomizers are also a good thing because like Link to the Past randomizer is insanely raceable, like infinitely raceable. So like I don't know if everybody considers that speedrunning randomizers, but I do, and it's a good way to like at least get people interested in like playing games fast.
Yeah, it's a great gateway into getting it. And I mean, as you said, some people consider randomizers speedruns and some people don't, but I think it completely depends on the game and what the community of said games take is on the randomizer. Like the Link to the Past randomizer is generally well received and there's a lot of people running it, but then there are other games where randomizers are just considered non-canon, if you wish, to the speedrunning community.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like it's not speedrunning in the sense like you can't really do a leaderboard for a randomizer, so that kind of like is one like step removed from speedrunning, but it's still like you're playing the game as fast as you can.
Yeah, well, playing the game as fast as you can. It's kind of, isn't that what speedrunning is, though?
Yeah, it is. That's why I consider it speedrunning, but I can see the argument that you can't really do leaderboards for randomizers.
But yeah, we mentioned a little bit there about like races and comparing that to the esports scene and that kind of thing. And I wanna dive into like your thoughts of like the GDQ, ESA, and RPG limit breaks. But before we do that, you touched on it a little bit earlier in the podcast about that you attended the SGDQ 2019 for the Uncharted 1 any percent no airwalk. Could you dive into that a little bit more?
Dive into like my experience of doing the run, or just attending the event in general?
Yeah, just like as attending the event in comparison to like watching the event from the comfort of your home.
Yeah, so like I attended with a few of my friends, which I think like attending, the difference between attending and watching is like watching you're just like in your home, and it's a comfy experience, and you might be tempted to like attend, which is good, but I don't think I would have gone alone. I think that's kind of like, because it's a lot about like just hanging out with your friends for a week, and the stream is kind of like secondary almost when you're at the venue. So I was kind of like, I didn't spend a huge amount of time in the stream room, but you know, just kind of hanging out with my friends, playing pinball, playing board games, playing whatever, and I only have positive things to say for like my experience attending the event. Yeah, when you watch it at home, it's more about like watching speedruns.
Yeah. So like the comparison is like when you're watching it on the stream, it's more about you're focused on the speedrunning aspect, but whereas you're there, it's more based on the community of it all.
Yeah.
All right. Was that the only event you've attended, the 2019 SGDQ?
Yeah.
So how did the run go? Like, I want to kind of dive more into the topic of the Uncharted series. So explain for those who don't know, what is the no airwalk any percent?
Yeah. So there's a trick called the airwalk, as you might have guessed, and it used to be like only possible in any percent, no NG plus, sorry, and and it's basically like it allows you to skip from like chapter 4 to chapter 11 as an example. That's one application of it, and it makes the run uh, NG Plus also has like super speed tweaks and slow motion tweaks, which is like why it was only possible in NG Plus. But so that brings the run down to like 20 minutes. Without the super speed thing, it would have been like it's like around 30 minutes, like on a bad run. But the trick is just so awful to do without the super slow mo tweak, which like basically just slows the game down, so you can, because you need to mash really hard. And yeah, so like as soon as I saw that run, I just like lost all like motivation to play the game. It's like, oh, that's awful. So but then when the mods decided to do another category called any percent no airwalk, and which is like now any percent. There's no real any percent for Uncharted 1 because there was only this one run and nobody else ran it, which tells you how awful the run is. But but yeah, like the no airwalk route is really good, and there's a lot of like the thing I like about Uncharted games is that they kind of everyone has like the idea of these games that they are like technical marvels and unbreakable, which they are technical marvels. And I remember playing Uncharted 1 in 2007 and being like blown away. But then there's also like the factor that you can just like do things a little bit weird and the games are just like completely broken apart.
So does the Uncharted, well, not just the Uncharted 1 game, but like the Uncharted series as a whole, do they have like different categories? I mean, usually the default category of a game is just called any percent. But like, do they have different categories, and is there another one that's the main category for that game?
Usually it's just any percent for most of them. Uncharted 1 is basically the exception because of that airwalk.
Right. So how do they differ? Like the categories, are there like competitive other categories, or are there just like, as some people say, just meme categories essentially?
Uncharted 1 has like the biggest variety of like pretty good categories. I would say like categories that like a lot of people want to run. You know, there's like all treasures, which is basically like 100%, which is pretty cool. Because you get to skip so much of the game. You kind of like have to take a different route, see more of the game, but still skip a lot of it. And then NG Plus is like the super baby one. But like all the games are really different, which is kind of interesting. So like Uncharted 1 has a glitch where you can just clip through any wall basically, and Uncharted 2 has an airwalk as well, but it's different, and that lets you skip a lot of stuff, and really interesting. Uncharted 3 has less stuff, but has like cover launches. You can just like launch out of cover. That does some interesting things, but a lot of the game is pretty slow because it's like more cinematic. And that's kind of like the progression with the games as well. As further you go, Uncharted 4 is like 4 hours of in-game time, which is like almost 5 hours if you include loads. And so that's pretty bad. But then Uncharted Lost Legacy, which was the like expansion to Uncharted 4, is also pretty good. It has some skips because like even though Uncharted 4 is long and doesn't have a lot of skips, it's got a lot of glitches. You know, you can clip out of bounds and do stuff, but it doesn't lead to anything.
Still on the topic of like AGDQ and SGDQ and that kind of thing, what was it like doing a speedrun in front of like a crowd, in front of thousands of people online?
It was good. I was surprisingly not that stressed, which, well, like the run before me went a bit overestimate, so I like it was supposed to be like 11 p.m. at the event, but actually I started like later. So a lot of people had gone to sleep or something. So the actual audience on site wasn't that big, but still like 100,000 people watching online. But you can't really feel them. And also with the way the venue is set up, there's a bit of separation between you and the audience. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I was pretty calm. It was just like
Were you aware at the time of that there was 100,000 people watching you?
Oh yeah, of course. Like I've been watching these events for a while, and so if you watch the viewer count, it's like always over 100K.
So what was that like, knowing that there was that many people watching you?
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just more thinking about playing the game well and talking about it in a language that's not my native language. So it's like I didn't have any brain capacity on thinking about how many people were watching.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good thing that you were completely focused on the run and the game, because I mean, the added pressure of knowing that 100,000 people are watching your every move, that's gonna, I mean, it's a bit of a recipe for choking, kind of.
Yeah, and it's kind of like whenever I tell like relatives or whatever about like, I don't think anybody like fully understands like. I might say like, yeah, 100,000 people are watching, and they're like, okay, but I don't think they're fully grasping it. I don't think I am fully grasping it either, because it's like 100,000 people is like a third of the population of Iceland. So
yeah, that's a lot of people though, like a lot of people. But did you get any like tips or anything like before you sat down on that couch? Like, did the staff or any other runners give you any tips?
Not really. It's just like they asked me like some names they like should look out for, like for donations. Anybody I would know who would be donating, and then I don't remember exactly what they went. The host met me beforehand, but it was really casual. Like,
I guess they didn't want to risk you like choking up, or just not you specifically, like by any runners. Like, no pressure or anything, but there's 100,000 people watching, just so you know. Don't fuck up.
I think everyone who submits to GDQ kind of like knows what they're getting themselves into, and also like by submitting, you're agreeing to like the whole like thing. You know, there's a whole written thing you have to agree to when you submit. So I guess they don't have to go over everything in person.
Yeah, that's true, I guess. I mean, it would be kind of strange if someone just applied and I've never watched one of these events ever, just kind of like, oh, I got accepted, let's go. And it's like, oh, wait, there's how many people watching?
Yeah.
All right, so diving back to you and your runs, the Uncharted games seems like your main focus, but why do you speedrun the games that you do?
Like most of them is just because I like them. Like Uncharted has always been like a series that I liked. I didn't have a PS3, but I still played all of the PS3 games just at friends' houses and stuff. So like I must have liked them in some way. And then when I got a PS4, I bought the collection, the Nathan Drake collection, and yeah, I kind of like it. I guess I'm a sucker for like treasure hunting stuff. I guess that's the only reason why I speedrun Uncharted, because I like them, and I like them.
Yeah. And what about the other games that you run in them? Are they just like for fun with friends, or
like
Zelda or Detroit, for example?
Yeah, Detroit is just like I bought it and I liked it, and I wanted to see like, because the interesting thing about Detroit is like a lot of people would like kind of they might just like throw it away because as a speedrun, because it's a walking simulator, in some aspects. But the interesting thing about Detroit and that kind of games is like, how do you find the best way to like go through the tree of decisions to end up at the fastest outcome? And the Detroit speedrun is pretty funny because it's basically just like kill all the main characters as fast as possible, so the story can't continue.
And that's the legit like finishing the game. Just kill the main characters.
Yeah, just like mess up everything.
So there's literally no skill required. Just like do everything wrong and you're doing it right. Kind of.
Not really. Like you have to pick the right dialogue options and stuff, and you have to know like where you're going and stuff. But it's not like Super Mario 64 or like a game like that where you have to like have good movement and stuff. It's just like if you know the route and you execute it well, then like you get a pretty good run. Yeah, like some of the other games like Rhyme, I did few runs off because I got it on PS Plus. Stuff like that. Some of these games are memes, like Knack. That's a big meme. I hate that game so much, but
Why? What's wrong with it?
it's just like the most mediocre thing in the world, and like I dislike mediocrity more than incompetence when it comes to like art.
Is it like mediocre like in terms of gameplay or more mediocre in terms of speedrunning?
Actually, there's like skips and stuff now, but like my run doesn't do. It's basically glitchless. But I haven't. I don't really want to do the run with the skips. But yeah, it's just like as a game, the whole like the design of Knack is interesting, having him be like particles and stuff. But like, just feels uninspired, and like it's just a platformer.
Right. So we've talked a little bit about glitches and skips and those kind of things, and usually I say, I mean, I think it's mostly trolls, but there's still some people that have the opinion like when it comes to skips and glitches in speedrunning, and I asked this on Twitter, and the answer was unanimous. But what do you reckon it's a form of cheating in some way?
Well, obviously I'm gonna say no, but it's like the people who call it cheating. I feel like they are the people who don't know anything about speedrunning. Then again, like the whole thing about the arbitrary code execution in Ocarina of Time, had a lot of like experienced speedrunners condemning that route just because it felt to them like it ruined the whole story of like any percent of Ocarina of Time, which is like one of the longest stories of any speedrunning category. But it's like it's the same as with like people who say glitching is cheating. It's like first of all, speedrunners are playing these games because they love them and they've played these games so many times before. So it's not like we're going fast because we don't enjoy the game. We're going fast because we do enjoy the game. And like if people don't want to do a route, then you just create another category, like we did with Uncharted 1. It's like it's not a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of people who say these things, I think they're not necessarily referring to like skill skips or executed like small glitches. I think usually it's if you take there's three games I'm thinking of in particular. Like there's Final Fantasy VI, Super Mario World, and the Pokemon games. They utilize basically manipulating the game's code to just teleport to the end of the game. And that, in a sense, I can see where they're coming from, is a form of cheating, because you're changing the original piece of the game, but at the same time, it's still in the game. They're left by programmers, and the goal is to get to the end as fast as possible. So it's a bit like it's cheating, but not really cheating if you're trying to see it from their perspective.
Yeah, I mean you're not doing anything as long as you're not like using an external program or something. I don't like you just like with Pokemon. You're just using the Game Boy to beat the game fast.
Yeah,
and to me that's not cheating. But yeah, I can see how people who don't like aren't privy to a lot of speedrunning conventions and stuff are like their gut reaction might be like oh, these people are like skipping my favorite game. Like a lot of people like want you to might like love a game because of the story, and if a person can skip the entire story, it's like, oh, I don't like this. But those people most often don't realize like the point of speedrunning.
Yeah, I think that's the major issue. Like the people who claim people are cheating is usually like they don't know enough about speedrunning and what the purpose is. That being said, there are speedrunners who have been caught cheating and legit cheating, like using third-party programs to speed up the frame rate in a game to get a faster time, or when uploading to YouTube, just splicing between two different runs to get a slightly better time that could be like could be the reason they get world records or something like that. So there have been cases where people have been caught cheating, but those people have usually been banned and punished in some sort of way that they're not allowed to ever run that game under any other username as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in the end, it's like there's nothing official about these leaderboards we make. It's just like a bunch of people agreeing to a rule, or like agreeing to a set of rules for playing a video game, and like there's no like law when it comes to speedrunning. So it's all community based, and every game, like with Super Mario Sunshine, they like allowed a hacked save file to skip the first cutscene, which is problematic in some ways, but I'm not a part of that community, so like what does it matter what I think?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. But that being said, though, like it's an interesting choice of words, really, that it's community based, because it is like there's no official. We've all kind of agreed that whatever goes up on speedrun.com is like an official time, but at the same time, there has been cases where like the Guinness World Book of Records have legitimized some speedrunners who have like the fastest run in a game and put them into their official records. Does that legitimize speedrunning for just one game or as a whole, because it's been recognized as an actual thing and an actual world record?
In a way, I guess, but like the Guinness Book of World Records is kind of like I see it as like a similar thing to the speedrun.com leaderboards. It's only official, like in quotations, because everyone agrees it is. The speedrun.com leaderboards are only the leaderboards for the games because everyone agrees. And there are leaderboards for some games outside of speedrun.com. And there's nothing stopping me from creating a new leaderboard for Uncharted. And if that picks up steam, maybe Guinness would like accept that as legit. So it's like it's only official because we agree it is.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very strong point. I mean, look at for example, the Japanese speedrunning community, who do a lot of JRPGs and whatnot. They have their own leaderboards. Like you rarely see Japanese runners post on speedrun.com because they have their own thing for certain games where they post their times and records. But moving on, we're gonna start to round things off. So only have a few more questions left here. But what is the single most impressive speedrun you've seen?
That's a tough one. There's a few different answers to this, I guess. Like, there's like the more you know about a speedrun, the more impressive something might become. But the less you know about a speedrun, something else might be more impressive. So like the speedrunners where like they do arbitrary code execution, like the current any percent Ocarina of Time runs, or like Super Mario World or Super Mario 3 wrong warping. Stuff like that is really impressive if you don't know anything about it, but it's also impressive, of course, if you do. But then, like on a personal level, like the Uncharted one, 80% no airwalk world record is really impressive to me, just because I know how hard it is. But it might not be like immediately evident to a layman, like how difficult that run is to pull off. So I guess I would say like the 80% run for Uncharted 1, and then like wrong warping runs, like 80% Ocarina of Time, like that kind of stuff. And of course, like like the SM64 120 star record is always going to be impressive because like everyone knows how much time goes into that.
Yeah.
And effort.
Not only on stream, but like the amount of practice that goes into getting that as well. It's insane. But if you were to meet up with someone who wanted to get into speedrunning, what kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, like I would just tell them to like think of games that you like, that you would want to like you're interesting to see how they would be done fast, and then just start at the top. Just like do things, just learn things, complete a run, and just keep at it. Because nobody's gonna be the best at something on their first go, and it's really easy to think you can be good at something. Goes to the point I made earlier about the mindset. So just like don't even expect you're gonna be beating the person that's lowest on the leaderboard. Just like play the game and you'll get better.
Yeah, practice makes perfect, as they say. And that was actually the last question I had there as well. So we're gonna head into the little like end of the stream quick fire round questions here now. Yes, sound effects, sweet. Right, so basically, how it's gonna be, I'm gonna ask you 3 questions, and the rules are simple. You're not allowed to think about them. You have like a maximum of like 5 seconds to think of an answer. You just gotta answer on the top of your head. All right, so we're gonna start with the first question. What are your top 3 pizza toppings?
Pepperoni, cream cheese, black pepper.
Cream cheese on a pizza?
Oh man.
What? I can't be the first one to react about this.
It's pretty common in Iceland, so.
Really, I must try that.
Like some cheesy stuff on pizza is really good, and like you need pepperoni is like you have to have pepperoni, and yeah, I also like pineapple pizza.
Yeah, me too.
Take that as you may.
Me too. It's like, the right way.
Yeah, I like having like the meatiness of something, some meat, like the salt in the meat, and then like some like cheese, like a creamy cheese on top of the regular cheese. For like cheesiness, and then you have like maybe pineapple for like fruity stuff to like it balances stuff out.
I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. All right. If you had to speedrun only one game for the rest of your life, which would it be and why?
Yeah, it's gotta be Uncharted 1. It's like it's got a good skill ceiling, but it's also like, and I have the track record to like I have been playing it for 2 years and I'm still with it. So, but I will say like as a second pick I would pick Uncharted 2 because that one has the highest skill ceiling and it's a really interesting and difficult run.
Nice. All right. So question number 3: if you were trapped on a desert island that had modern day housing with electricity, plumbing, a bed, a kitchen, a computer, what one item would you bring?
Okay. I guess I'd bring some music, like a record player and some stuff. I don't know if that counts as one thing.
Yeah, I guess it can. What kind of music would you bring?
Like progressive stuff, progressive rock, metal, stuff like that. Those are like my favorites, but my music tastes are pretty broad. Like which everyone says.
Yeah. It's the most common answer. Like, what kind of music do you like? Oh, I like everything. Yeah, pretty much.
I don't like everything for sure, but I like a lot of
stuff. Yeah. All right, so that has been it for the Speedrunner podcast. I'm gonna open up the floor here to you. You can say whatever you want within reason. Like, don't break the terms of service or that kind of thing. But you can shout out anyone. You can tell everyone where they can find you, what you got going on, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. If anyone's mildly interested in speedrunning Uncharted, you should join our Discord. There's a lot of good people there. Like most of my friends from the speedrunning community I made through there. Shoutouts to all of them, and all the people who I talk to on a daily basis on Discord. I don't know if I have anything to do going on, but like you can follow me on Twitch and Twitter if you like.
All right, and for those who can't see the screen because we're doing this live as well, you can follow Osskari on Twitch, which is at twitch.tv/Osskari, or on the Twitter, which is at Osskari_SR. And my name is Sir Penguins, and you can follow me on Twitch as well, which is twitch.tv/SirPenguins, or you can just follow the Speedrunner podcast on their Twitter, which is at Speedrun Podcast. So this has been episode number 5. I've been Sir Penguins. My guest has been Osskari, and thank you all for watching. And the next episode will be out pretty soon. See you guys later.